Somatosensory system, also known as ascending pathways. This system is responsible for carrying different cutaneous sensations resulting from stimulation of sensory receptors to the spinal cord and then to the cerebral cortex. Afferent fibers that transmit cutaneous sensation are broadly divided into three categories: large myelinated A alpha and A beta fibers, A alpha 1A and 1B, and A beta is type 2 fibers; small myelinated A delta type 3 fibers, and small unmyelinated C fibers, also known as type 4 fibers. So information is transmitted via a series of neurons. There are three sets of order of neuron mainly. First order neuron from the receptor to the spinal cord, and then second order neuron till the thalamus, and from the thalamus third order neuron. The second order neuron crosses the midline either in the spinal cord, which is shown in this picture, or in the brainstem, which is not shown in this picture, so that information from one side of the body is transmitted to contralateral thalamus and then to contralateral cerebral cortex. So the two ascending pathways are anterolateral spinothalamic system and dorsal column system, also known as medial lemniscus system. Anterolateral system is mainly takes the sensation of pain, temperature and crude touch, while dorsal column system is mainly responsible for carrying the sensation of body movement, limb position, fine touch discrimination and pressure. So dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway. This column or dorsal column, it is the principal pathways to cerebral cortex for fine touch, vibration sense and proprioception. Primarily the group 2 fibers mediating these sensations ascend ipsilaterally in the dorsal column of the spinal cord to the medulla, where they synapse in the gracilis and cuneate nuclei. The second order neuron from these nuclei crosses the midline and then ascends in the medial lemniscus to end in the contralateral ventroposterior nuclear complex, mainly ventroposterolateral and ventroposterior medial nucleus, and from there the third order neuron reaches the primary sensory cortex in the postcentral gyrus. The nerve fibers in this system are somatotopically organized, means fibers from sacral cord are positioned more medially and fibers from cervical portions uh, are represented most laterally. In the medulla, with the lower body, for example foot, representation is in the nucleus gracilis, and upper body, for example fingers, it is represented in the nucleus cuneatus. So some special characteristics feature of this pathway are: this pathway are high velocity of transmission, means action propagation of action potential is very high, with propagate with very high velocity. Second is spatial localization is well for this pathway, and there is also the high gradation of intensities in dorsal column. The next one is ventrolateral or anterolateral spinothalamic pathway. So lateral spinothalamic tract, This carries the sensation of all types of pain and temperature, and ventral or anterior spinothalamic tract carries the sensation of crude touch. Group 3 and group 4 fiber, that is A delta and C fibers from nociceptors and thermoreceptors. These synapses on the neurons in the dorsal horn laminae, including laminae 1, 4, 5 and 6 of the spinal cord. Axons from these neurons crosses the midline and ascends in ventrolateral quadrant of the spinal cord, where they form anterolateral spinothalamic pathway. Here in the diagram it is only shown with the lateral spinothalamic tract. In general, tactile signal like crude touch, these are transmitted mainly to the ventrobasal complex, which is ventroposterior inferior nucleus of the thalamus, and from here the signals are transmitted to the somatosensory cortex along with the signals from dorsal column. Conversely, most pain signals transmitted to the reticular nuclei of the brainstem. From there, it goes to the intralaminar nucleus of the thalamus, and then primary somatosensory cortex postcentral gyrus. This is responsible for the pain localization. Conversely, the pathway from the brainstem to the intralaminar nucleus and then to the frontal lobe and then to the limbic system plus insular cortex, these are mainly mediating motivational affective components of the pain. So special features of this ventrolateral or anterolateral system are these. In this pathway there is a low velocity of transmission of action potential. Special localization is poor for this pathway, and there is less gradation of intensities. In the thalamus, distinct spatial orientation is still maintained, and the somatotopical organization continues even in the cerebral cortex. So in the thalamus, ventroposterior nuclear complex, which are ventroposterolateral, ventroposteromedial and ventroposterior inferior nucleus, the fibers are somatotopically organized. Lower limb is represented more laterally and upper limb is represented most medially in the ventroposterolateral nucleus, while head is represented even more medially in the ventroposterior medial nucleus. Intralaminar nucleus, which is not shown in the diagram, the fibers are not somatotopical. Finally, these ascending pathways, dorsal column and anterolateral system, they reaches the primary sensory area S1 and S2, Brodmann's area 3, 1 and 2. This is supplied by afferents from opposite side of the body but from both sides of the face. Plus some fibers are also reaching the secondary sensory area, also known as somatosensory association cortex, Brodmann's area number 5 and 7. So this receives the afferent from both sides of the body. Sensory homunculus, representation of map of whole body in primary somatosensory cortex is called sensory homunculus. Part of the body are represented in order along the postcentral gyrus, like face is represented in lateral part of the postcentral gyrus above lateral fissure. The hand and then face represented in the dorsolateral part and lower extremity on the medial surface of the hemisphere. Not only there is detailed localization of the fibers from various parts of the body, but also the size of cortical receiving area for impulses is proportional to the use of the part. The largest areas represent the hand, face, and fingers where precise localization is most important. Map is distorted because volume of neural tissue devoted to a body region is proportional to density of its innervation. Thank you.